So first of all, these are very special days. Chol Hamoed, from my point of view, in the Arbotzes Torah aspect, are the most magnificent days of all year. When we have a full Chol Hamoed, somebody once made some arithmetic, and he explained to me about 10,000 people attend my shiurim in Eretz Yisrael. Every day I have 2 or 3, sometimes 4 shiurim a day. And Baruch Hashem, these are huge botei medrash, and so many people come together. And this year I'm sitting at home, but Baruch Hashem, as I expressed my thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the past few shiurim, that we have the ability to use modern technology to teach Torah and to enhance Talmud Torah and to be marbitz Torah Rabbim. So this is such a huge schos. So one might think sitting at home I have more time than I ever did, but it's not so. And Baruch Hashem, I'm busy giving shiurim, and Be'ikar I'm busy with phone calls from the entire world dealing with very serious shilas. Most of them that have to do with the coronavirus, but Baruch Hashem, it's Chol Hamoed and it's Yom Tov, and we need to be Oisig Be'el Chag, and we need to be Mishtasheh B'divrei Torah. So there's an amazing Yerushalmi in Moed Kotten Daf Tes Amud Aleph. Klum Osru Malacha B'Chol Hamoed Elu Kedei Shiyu Oichlin V'Shoiskim V'Yegeyem B'Torah. So the Yerushalmi says that the entire Issa Malacha B'Chol Hamoed is just people should have time, Shu Oichlin V'Shoisim, V'Yegeyen B'Torah. And Tosfos and Chagigi Yud Ches Amud Aleph quotes this Yerushalmi to prove that Malachas Chol Hamoed is only Yosem D'Rabbanan. But that's not the sugya we'll talk about today. We're talking about Sefiras Haomer. I just mean to stress that Chol Hamoed is about Arbotzes Torah, it's about Talmud Torah. So in normal circumstances, I know that some people must go to work in Chol Hamoed, and as I saw, most people are at home. But this year is different, and this year, most of us, yes, have a lot of time to learn Chol Hamoed, to learn with your children, learn with your families, learn with me, learn with anyone else. Just learn Torah and daven. And I want to share with you a thought that I said on Shabbos, because it's so relevant. This Shabbos, we read Shir HaShirim. So the kesher between Shir HaShirim and Pesach is obvious, and it's not what I want to stress today. The Gaon explains, Atu b'chartonim ha'koroamim ha'haftu eisonu v'rotzisu banu. Atu b'chartonim was Pesach, ha'haftu eisonu b'shvuos. Obviously, the greatest gift that HaKadosh Baruch Hu could give us is Torah Hashem Tamimo, this beautiful, lovely Torah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us. V'rotzisu banu was Sukkos. But I think this year, Shir HaShirim has some special significance. So Shir HaShirim is a love story between the Dod and the Raya. Being a love story, you know, some thinkers that are very far from Derech HaTorah gave different interpretations, but Rebbe Kiva ben Yosef says, Kol HaShirim Kodesh, Shir HaShirim Kodesh Kodeshim. And the Rambam explains Perek Yud of Hilchos Tshuva Halacha Gimel that this story of Shir HaShirim is a mashal. It is a mashal to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's love for Knesset Yisrael and our love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in the mashal, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Doid and we are the Raya. So they're looking for each other and they don't seem to be able to connect. The Seforno, in his introduction to Shir HaShirim, says that this Megillah was given specially for the Golus, when we are in Golus. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mastir ponov, like the Pasuk says, V'hunoichi, haster ponai, biyoyim hahu. And we desperately look for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Where is he? David HaMelech in Tehillim cries out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Keili, Keili, Lamo Azavtani. And we look for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Ra'aya is asking around, Haraitem edaidi, where did he go? Chomak, halach loi. He went nowhere. He's behind the wall. Mashgiach min hachalonos, meitzitz min hachalakim. So there's a difference between mashgiach min hachalonos and meitzitz min hachalakim. The person looks out of the window. Those that are standing outside, they might not notice that he's looking, but if they focus on that window and they look at that window, they know where he is, then they will see him. Meitzitz min hachalakim, no. He could see us, but we don't see him. So sometimes in Golus, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in the p'china of Mashgiach min hachalonos. Sometimes he is meitzitz min hachalakim. And I think 80 years ago, when my father and mother and millions of others were in Auschwitz and Birkenau and in 100 other death camps and horrific work camps, in those days, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wasn't the p'china of meitzitz min hachalakim. In our days, Baruch Hashem, yes, we have difficulties, we are bleeding, we are paining, and it's tragic. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in the p'china of mashgiach min hachalonos. It's easy to find him, and we should find him, and we should go after him. So the Raya is in despair. She's looking for her lover. But in reality, he's not far away. And we cry out, so why don't you open the door? Why don't you come in? So why is he hiding? He is hiding because he pleads. Hashmi'ini es koilech. Ki koilech orev. V'marech navo. Explains the Seforno. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mis'avel tfilos shel tzadikim. He wants to hear our tefillos. And he's pleading and begging with us, Hashmi'ini es koilech. So we think we're davening a lot, and we are. But obviously it's not enough. Obviously it's not enough. Because he is still he is still only mashgiach min hachalonos meitzitz min hachalakim. And he wants to hear our voice. Hashmi'ini es koilech. So we need to daven. Daven more, learn more. Hashmi'ini es koilech is koil Torah and koil tefillah. So Baruch Hashem, we are learning. And we should learn as much as we can in kamos and anechas, in quantity and quality, more simchas Torah, more chedves d'shmaita, and that's our mission. That's our mission. So Baruch Hashem, we're oisik today in Hilchas Achag. So we are still at the beginning of Yemei Hasvira. So first I want to give a fundamental introduction, Yesoides Gedolim, in the din of Sefiras Haomer. So one of our previous Yurim, I mentioned the new Sefer that came out. Minchas Oshem Moedem Chele Gimel. I also said that we'll be willing to send out the digital form to whoever wishes and whoever wants. I think I sent it to, my office sent it to Rav Gottesman, to Rav Shloima, and I hope he's made it available to anyone, and that's what we try to do. So in the new Sefer, Minchas Osher in Chele Gimel, Pesach, Sefiras Haomer, and Shavuos, Siman Lamed Gimel. There's a fundamental siman. And I want to briefly discuss the Yesodis because I think it's a wonderful siman. So Sefiras Haomer obviously is one of the mitzvahs shebedibur. There are many mitzvahs, and a respectable portion of the Taryag mitzvahs could be defined as mitzvahs shebedibur, including Kriya Shema, Tefillah, Hallel, Mea Brochas B'Kol Yoim, Vidui Maisres, Mikro Bikurim, Sipu Yetzias Mitzrayim, and many others. Many min haTorah, many midrabbanan. Sefiras Haomer is one of them, one of the mitzvahs shebedibur. However, when we start learning the halachos of Sefiras Haomer is always ipche mistavra. And as so many yesodis the halachos, it is the opposite of all the other mitzvahs shebedibur. And this is a pele, it demands an explanation. So let's go into the details. What do I mean? So one of the seifim in Hilchos Sefiras Haomer, and all we have is 9 seifim. One siman in Shulchan Aruch Chaim Tov Pei Tes So many of you probably recall there are 10 siyufim, not 9. Why do we say 9? Because siyuf is about Chodesh, not about Sefiras Haomer. First 9 siyufim are Sefiras Haomer. And one of the very well-known and well-learned siyufim is Siyuf Dalet. Misha shoyel isech averoi kama yomim hayom b'svira lo yoyma lo hayom kach v'kach. Shem yoyma hayom kach v'kach eina yochel lachzoi v'lispoi b'brocha. And therefore you should say, Esmoil hayu kach v'kach. Yesterday was 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever it is. But don't say what the present day is, because if you said hayom kach v'kach, you missed, and you can't say a brocha on your own sfira. And all the Achronim ask, and why not? In halachos kriya shemasim esamach siv dalad shechanoch paskins mitzvah sichas kavona, and it's quite obvious and self-evident when a person asks his chaver, his friend in shul, what day is today? And he says today is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever it is. Isn't it obvious that he's not mechaven to be mekayim the mitzvah and mitzvah sichas kavona? So what's the problem? Why, if he said hayom kach v'kach, he cannot count with a bracha? So there are different interpretations. The Prima Godim, in Siman of Peites, Prima Godim says, actually, the question whether mitzvah sichas kavona or not lahaloch is a suffix, and therefore sveike dura suffix lachumra. Well, it's a suffix whether mitzvah sichas kavona. So in halachos kriya shema we say lo yotzi dechavosai. Tzorach lachzor v'lekro. And in Sefiras Haomer we say efshar sheyotzi dechavosai, and therefore he can no longer make a bracha because suffix bracha is lekula. So that's the approach of the Prima Godim. And the Mishnah Brura, not in halachos Sefiras Haomer Tov Peites, but rather in Siman Samach and Bialocha, sharply disagrees with the Prima Godim, and I think he's right. And the Mishnah Brura argues, it's klar in Shulchan Aruch that when the Shulchan Aruch paskins mitzvah sichas kavona, it's not mitzad ha-sofik. It's a psak al tzad ha-vadai, because the Loshem of the Shulchan Aruch is, yesh oimrim shemitzvahs ein sichas kavona, v'yesh oimrim shemitzvahs sichas kavona, v'chein halacha. So most of you probably know, whenever the Shulchan Aruch brings two different opinions, if it's yesh oimrim, v'yesh oimrim, ikar halacha keshita shniya. If it's stam v'yesh oimrim, shita rishayna. So in this case, Shulchan Aruch brings yesh oimrim shemitzvahs ein sichas kavona, yesh oimrim shemitzvahs sichas kavona. So generally, that proves that the halacha is shita basroi, mitzvah sichas kavona. But in this case, the Shulchan Aruch didn't even leave it with that. He writes v'chein halacha. So doesn't that prove kameya edom that this is a psak? And therefore, the Mishnah Brura rejects the interpretation of the Prima Godim. So what does he say? So the Mishnah Brura says, yes, mitzvah sichas kavona, mishum chumras brocha levatolo, where machmed that he can't say a brocha, and that's also a gevaldige doichik. Gevaldige doichik. Most places can maintain the brocha levatolo is only in his derabanan. But if the halacha is mitzvah sichas kavona, why can't he say a bracha? Would we say everywhere if a person is mekayim mitzvah without kavona, he can't say a bracha when he does it again? L'choyre mitzvah the pshita that he says a bracha. So the bialocha is auch a gevaldige doichik. The Goan is fascinating. So Bir Hagrot of Tov Peites, when the Shulchan Aruch says she'im yoyim elachaveroi hayom kach v'kach eina yochel lachzor v'lispor bebrocha. So the Goan says 3 words. Lamanda Omar, mitzvah sichas kavona. What does that mean? Of course, Lamanda Omar, mitzvah sichas. What does that mean? My understanding of the Prima Godim, and listen carefully, it's not the Ikar Sugya we're talking about today. But listen, my understanding of the Bialocha, it's not like the Prima Godim. It's not a suffix. Halacha l'maisa, if a person answered his friend, hayom kach v'kach, and he will come to us with a shaila. Do I say a brocha or not? We say, yes, you could say a brocha. Why? Because mitzvah sichas kavana, you weren't yaitza. So you could say a brocha. So what does the Shulchan Aruch says? Im yoyim elachaveroi hayom kach v'kach eino yochel lachzor lamando me mitzvah sichas kavana. So lechatchila, why not be choishish Efshar shemitzvahs sichas kavana. So the Yad Malachi explains, if we have a rule, the one the Machaber brings Yesher Memkach, Yesher Memkach, Halochi Keshita Basoi, the second opinion is the overriding one, Halocha Lamaisa. So why does he bring Bachal two opinions? When you learn this Yosef, you become aware that most of the Sifim in Shulchan Aruch are machlokes, and a vast majority of Sifim in Shulchan Aruch the Machaber doesn't bring all the conflicting opinions. He brings the opinion that's halacha l'maisa. So if he has a clear vision and a clear conclusion that the halacha is keshita shniya, why does he bring the first shita at all? So the Yad Malachi explains, and this is an accepted svara by all the major achronim. If the Mechaber does bring two opinions, that means there is credence to both opinions. Ubemokem hu efshar. And that's my understanding in Bir HaGro. So the Bir HaGro's understanding of the Shulchan Aruch is halacha l'maisa. If he answered his friend, of course the psak will be, you could say with a bracha, because mitzvah sichas kavona you weren't yotzei. But lachatchila, why not be on the safe side? Why not say esmoil hoyo kach v'kach? And you'll be machmir keshita reshoine gamkein. And you steer clear from any suffix and any problem. That's the understanding of the Gaon. But it's a doichik. Once again, it's a doichik because the lotion of the Shulchan Aruch is Shem yoyim el hachaveroi hayom kach v'kach eino yochel lachzor v'lispoi bebracha. So the great achronim have three approaches. All three are doichim, the Pri Megadim, the Bir Halacha, and the Gaon. I think the Choik Yankiv is right. Choik Yankov Simitov Peites. Who is the Choik Yankov? He's the Shavus Yankov, one of the greatest poskim more than 350 years ago. But the Choik Yankov is Sasum velo piresh. So the Choik Yankov says, it's right, mitzvah sichas kavana. But Sefiras Haomer is an exception. She'enoi elos sfira ba'alma. Sasam velo piresh. What does he mean? Enoi elos sfira ba'alma. So we paskin kaful v'yochel matzah lo yotzo, because mitzvah sichas kavana. And why don't we say enoi elo achilo ba'alma and atokei l'shio lo yotzi yedei chivosoi? Because mitzvah sichas kavana. Why don't we say enoi elo tekiyo ba'alma? Hoyev koira b'Torah v'giyazman kriya shema lo yotzi yedei chivosoi. And why won't we say enoi elo kriya ba'alma? So what's the difference between Kriya Shema and Kriya Shofar and Achilas Matzah, in which we say mitzvah sichas kavona Sefiras Haomer she'eino elo sfira ba'al? So let me explain. But I want to add on three additional sources before I will explain. So remember, question number one, mitzvah sichas kavona. Question number two. The Magen Avraham Tov Peites Siv Beis says, if you count and you don't understand what you're saying, you were not yotzei. So a person doesn't know Lashon Kodesh. He's a ger, he's a Bal Tshuva. He doesn't know Lashon Kodesh, and he counted on Lashon Kodesh. Magen Avraham says you're not yotzei. And Rabbi Yankov Emden in Sefer Moir Uktzio disagrees. And Rabbi Yankov Emden quotes the Tosfos and Soita Lamed Beis Amud Aleph. And Tosfos explains that whatever you say in Lashon Kodesh, you're yotzei even if you don't understand Lashon Kodesh. But in other languages, you're not yotzei only if you understand. So Rabbi Yankov Emden writes, based on the Tosfos, the same would be by Sefiras Haomer. Why would Sefiras Haomer be different than Brochus and anything else, any other mitzvah shebedibur? In Lashon Kodesh, you're yotzei regardless of whether you understand or not. So this is not the question of mitzvah sichas kavana. Kavana means the fundamental thought that I want to be yotzei mitzvah. We're dealing with havana. We're understanding the content, with understanding Perasha Milas. So Sefiras Haomer seems always to be an exception. And all the other mitzvahs shebedibur, mitzvah sichas kavana, Sefiras Haomer ein tzorech kavana. All the other mitzvahs ein tzorech havana. Sefiras Haomer does require havana. So lagabe havana, it's a chumrah. Lagabe kavana, it's a kula. But it seems always to be the opposite of other mitzvahs shebedibur. So these two sugyas we mentioned, kavana and havana, are somewhat related. They have something in common. The common denominator, the tzad shova, is they're both about machshavas ha'odam, kavona and avona. Now, let's deal with two other halachos that deal not with machshava, but rather with the maisa. What is the form and proper method of Sefiras Haomer? Coming back to the Magen Avraham, once again, Steve Cotton Base, the Magen Avraham says, all the other mitzvahs shebedeva, we have a klal shomea ka'oina b'kol mokom. And you could be yoitze broches, kriya shema, tefillah, anything, al yidei shmiya. Hashomea ka'oina b'kol mokom, and the fundamental sugyas in Sukkot Daf Chav Ches. Magen Avraham says Sefiras Haomer is an exception. Sefiras Haomer, you must count on your own. Each and every one needs to say the Sefira. You can't be yoitze b'shomea ka'oina. And the source of this halacha is in Sefer Agudel, Rav Asher Weiss. But once again, Achronim ask, and why? And why? So the Agudel says, "Usfartem shetei sefira l'kol echad v'echad." But Tosas and Menachos Samach in the base. The Ramban and Parshas Emor, all the Rishonim and Achronim explain the drosha that we find in Menachos Samach in the base. Usfartem shetei sefira l'kol echad v'echad. It doesn't exclude Shomea Ka'oina. It just teaches us that unlike Sefiras Shnoisa Shmitten Vayovel, that is a mitzvah on the Bezdin, Sefiras Haomer is on every individual. And that is the Kavanah Shetei Sefira Kol Echad V'echad. So why wouldn't Shomea Ka'oina work? So on one hand, Shomea Ka'oina applies to all the mitzvahs Shebediva, besides Sefiras Haomer. On the other hand, ksiva kedibur applies to no mitzvah shebedibur, but by Sefiras Haomer, some achronim say yes. Sefiras Haomer, person could be yoitze b'ksiva. Seems to be a pella. Rav Akiva Eiger, Chuvas, Chelek Aleph, Simachov Tes, Siman Lamed, deals with his uncle, who was one of the Gedolei Yisrael, with this question: could be yoitze person, Sefiras Haomer, by writing? The maskana of Rav Akiva Eiger is no. But his son-in-law obviously had a different opinion. The great Chassam Sofer. We don't find it in Chuvas Chassam Sofer, but the son of the Chassam Sofer, Chuvas Ksav Sofer, Yerodei Kuvav, quotes in the name of his great father that Kemoshe also limnoises b'nei Yisrael b'chsav. You're yoitze the mitzvah Sefiras Haomer b'chsav, because counting is different. There's a lav, you can't count b'nei Yisrael. There's a mitzvah to count the days of Sefira, so you could be yoitze b'chsav. That's a gevaldige chiddush. But the Chassam Sofer is not a yochid. Kaf HaChaim, Tov Peites Yivkot Nchov Ches quotes some other achronim that maintain halacha l'maaseh yoitze b'ksiva. And the Aruch HaShulchan wonders very powerfully, and he says, did anybody ever dream that you could be yoitze kriya shema with ksiva? Well, if you could, I would have a marvelous eitzah for Seifrei Stam. Well, you could make another few bucks every day instead of saying kriya shema shachas v'arvis, write another mezuzah, and you could be yoitze kriya shema b'ksiva. So the Aruch HaShulchan wonders, why would Rabbi Akiva even have a havamina that you could be yoitze b'ksiva? But as we just explained, by the Akiva it's a havamina, by Basiyama the Achronim it's the maskana. So once again, it's always counterintuitive. Shomea Ka'oina applies to all the other mitzvahs, but not to Sefiras Haomer. Ksiva Kedibur applies to no other mitzvah, but it does to Sefiras Haomer. So what is it about Sefiras Haomer that it's always different than all the other mitzvahs shebedibur? Let me explain. Sefira, by its very nature, is always a means to an end, and it's never an end to itself. So many times in my shiurim, bein bal peh, bein bechsav, whether it's Torah shebechsav or Torah shebal peh, I assume some of the people listening to me today are steady members of the Achikala in Eretz Yisrael. And this Yesod I mentioned many times, and to the best of my recollection, I did speak about it more than once in the shiurim I gave the Achikala in Yerushalayim. So fundamentally, mitzvahs Torah are broken down to two different categories. Some mitzvahs that are primarily about the result and the outcome, about the Torah, and others that are about avodas ukel, vasiyas and devoting. All the other mitzvahs shebediva are essentially avodas Hashem, not about the outcome, but about avodas Elokim. Besides Sefiras Haomer, because counting, by its very nature, is never an end to itself. There is no reason to count anything unless you need to know the number. Otherwise, why would you need to count? And that is in Metzius HaChaim. It's also right in Mitzvahs Torah. Besides Sefiras Haomer, there are three other mitzvahs that involve counting. And I'm sure that each and every one of you is thinking right now to himself, which are those three other mitzvahs? So I'll help you out. Shnois HaShmitin v'hayovel. That's a mitzvah based in HaGodel Shebiyushalayim. Shivon Nekiyim Shel Zava v'Nida. She needs to count 7 days. And Masa Behema. You count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 10, you swat with a red tseva, red paint, and that is Masa Behema. So everyone could understand on his own that regarding the three other mitzvahs, it's all about the result. It's all about the outcome. Why does a Zava need to count 7 days? Because that's the process of Tahara. It's a process of purification. And after Shiva Nekiyim, she goes to the mikveh. So the reason she counts is not because the counting is an objective to itself, it's a goal, it's a means to an end. She needs to know when she can go to the mikveh. Masa Behema is the same. The reason we count 10 is because number 10 is Kodesh. It's Kochim Kalam, and it's Masa Behema. And the reason we count Shnois HaShmitin v'Yovel is because Beis needs to know when to be Mekadesh Yovel and when to have Shnas HaShmita. Fundamentally the same is regarding Sefiras Haomer. We find the Gemara in Chagiga. Menei shonim v'kadesh yovel, menei yomim v'kadesh atzeres. We count the 49 days because we need to determine when is Shavuos. Because the only Yom Tov in Torah that doesn't have a date is Chag HaShavuos. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Pesach, the Torah specifies the date. By Shavuos, the Torah doesn't. Usfartim, and then comes Shavuos. So Sefiras Haomer essentially is about knowing Menei shonim v'kadesh yovelos, menei yomim v'kadesh atzeres. And that is why there was a haveh minute that this mitzvah is unbased in. And that is why we need the Gzeres HaKosim V'Sfartam Lachem Shetei Svira Lechol Echad V'Yechad. We shouldn't have a hammer minutes unbased in. So how do we know mitzvahs tefillin is Lechol Echad V'Yechad and Kriya Shema and Lulav and any other mitzvah? Mea Brochas B'Kol Yom and all the other mitzvahs. How do we know there are Kol Echad V'Yechad? Maybe only the Beis needs to daven and put on tefillin and sit in the sukkah. That's ridiculous. What does that have to do with the Beis Din? So why is Sefiras Haomer different? What does it have to do with Beis Din? Of course it has to do with the Beis Din. Just like Sefiras Shmitin Vayovel. It is the Beis Din that needs to determine when are the moyados. And that is why there's a havim in it. But the maskona is Usfartem lechem shetei svira lechol echod v'yechod. But the fundamental svara stays the same. Sefiras Haomer, like Shiva Nekiyim, like Masa Behema, like Shnois HaShmitin v'Yovel, is about the result. It is not essentially avodas Hashem, because unlike Hallel, Hoidoya, Tefillah, Kriya Shema v'Kabbalah Zol Malchus Shamayim, Brochas, which are in their very essence avodas Hashem, Dveikus. thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, singing his praise, being mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Those are, by their very essence, avodah sokel. But counting days is not avodah. And that is the secret. That's the side of Sefiras Haomer. And that explains all four halachos that we asked about and we mentioned. This is a yesod I explained many times. Mitzvah sichas kavona. This halacha applies only to mitzvahs that are avodah sokel. Any mitzvah that is about the result, there is no din of mitzvah sichas kavona. I have rayas, but I don't have time to go into great length. But isn't it enough that when we examine the entire Shas, the only mitzvahs in which we find sugyas of mitzvah sichas kavona are mitzvahs that are essentially avodas Hashem. So the very first source is Kriya Shema, Daf Yud Gimel. Berachas Anahen and Daf Yud Beis and Brochas, Kriya Shema Yud Gimel and Brochas. Matzah and Shoifer, Rosh Hashanah Chav Ches Omed Aleph. Moror, Psochim Kuf Tes Vav Omed Aleph. All of these mitzvahs, Matzah, Moror, Shoifer, Kriya Shema, Brochas, belong to category number 1. I have a raya from Avodah Zorah Chav Zayin Omed Aleph regarding mitzvahs Mila. There is no din of mitzvahs sichas kavona. And that is the kavona of the Chok Yankov. Yes. In Siman Samach we pass on mitzvah sichas kavona. But Sefiras Haomer is different. Einoi elo sfira ba'alma. It's just counting. And counting is about the result. And that is why by Sefiras Haomer there's no din of mitzvah sichas kavona. But the second side of this very same coin is Havana. So if it's about the result and you don't know the number, then you did nothing. Because counting is all about knowing what we've counted. Counting is all about achieving knowledge of the number. That's the result of counting. So if you say Hayom Yom Echad Ba'omer, but you don't even understand Lashon Kodesh and you don't understand what you said, then you said something, but that cannot be defined as counting, because counting is all about the result. So these two halachas that al paneim seem to be a stira, they're not a stira. They're actually two sides of the same coin, and the very same fundamental understanding explains them both. So let's go over to question number 2. Shomea ka'oina, b'kol ha'Torah kula, yes, by Sefiras Haomer, no, ksiva kedora, but all the other mitzvahs, no, by Sefiras Haomer, yes. To me, it's poshut betachlis abshitas, because the mitzvah of Sefiras Haomer is determining a number. I need to be koiveya. What is the yom of Sefira? By Shomea ka'oina, I didn't determine anything. He did. Yes, I listened, but you did not determine a number. You weren't koiveya a mitzvah. You didn't count. He did. You didn't. So Shomea ka'oina is relevant by avodas hukeil. And it's a gzeras hakosef. If you hear Kriya Shema, if you hear davening, you hear brochas, it is as if you said those very same brochas, because it's primarily about kavonas alev. Yes, dibur is ma'akev, but essentially it's about avodah. Eiz avodah shebelev zu tefila. It's essentially about avodah shebelev, and that is why Shomea ka'oina. But by Sefira, the Agdora is you need to be koiveya the yom. What number is this day? So Shomea ka'oina won't help you. You did not determine anything. He did. The fact that you heard what he said is not sufficient. And that is the very same reason why Ksiva Kedibel would work. Because when I write, that is a determination. I determined a day. I was koiveya. In a way, there even would be havamina that Ksiva would be better than Dibur, because the spoken word is gone. But what you write is here to stay. So in the Mivchan of Sefiras Haomer, I could understand those Achronim that argue Ksiva Kediva would be sufficient, even though Shomeya would not be Ka'oina. Halacha l'maisa, ein halacha k'maisa. Ein Ksiva Kediva, the Aruch Shulchan is right. Kedivrei Rabbi Akiva Eiger the Maskona, but at least we could understand the Havamen of Rabbi Akiva Eiger, which is the Maskona of some other Achronim. So I think this Yesod is so fundamental in understanding the Geder HaMitzvah of Sefiras Haomer. I would like, Be'inyan la'inyan, Shelo legamra b'oseh, we need to address some of the halachic aspects of halachic questions of Sefiras Haomer. So I think most shaylas in the Sefiras Haomer are associated with two seifim in Siman Tov Peites, Siv Zayin and Siv Ches. We start with Siv Ches. Im shochach lavorech ba'achad ma'ayomim, ben yom rishon ben shar yomim, soifa b'shar hayomim, beloy brocha. What is the yesod of this seif? Halachos gedolos, shittas habahag, quoted in Tosfos Menachos Samach Vav and Adala. And in all the Rishonim at the end of Masechet Pesachim. Why the end of Pesachim? The Rosh, the Ran, the Ramban, all the other Rishonim deal with Hilchos Sefiras Haomer at the end of Pesachim. By the end of Pesachim, the Gemara doesn't even mention Sefiras Haomer. This is an interesting phenomenon. Because the Sugya of Sefiras Haomer, as I mentioned before, is in Menachos Samach Samach Vav. But the Rishonim didn't write Pirushim on Menachos because it's Kochi. And B'yamei Rishonim, very few people really learn Kochim. And that is why, besides Rashi and Tosfos, we have no Ramban, no Rashba, no Rishba, no Ran, no Rosh on Masechet Menachos because it's Kochi. Haover, the Rishonim did want to teach us the halachos of Sefiras Haomer because they're Negei B'zman Hazeh. So all the other Rishonim put Sefiras Haomer at the end of Masechet Pesachim. And the basic logic is, the Zman of Sevira is from the second day Pesach. So it's associated with Pesach. So at the end of Pesachim, all the Rishonim write the dinam of Sefiras Haomer. The halachos gedolos has a gewaltige chiddush. Sheva Shabbosos Tamimois tihiyenu. Tamimois requires a Sfira Tamima of Mem Tes Yom. And all the 49 days are intertwined and dependent one on the other. And if you missed one day, you lost the entire mitzvah. And you no longer have a mitzvah at all. That is the shit of halachos gedolos. Almost all the Rishonim reject halachos gedolos. The Rosham, Tosfos. And Tosfos doesn't even go into a discussion as they usually do. If you disagree, please explain why you disagree. Tosfos writes, EFsha doesn't make sense. Interesting. Why doesn't it make sense? The halachos gedolos to say something. Is machalish adin tamimois. So maybe the reason it doesn't make sense according to Tosfos is because all the other Rishonim, based on a Gemara mefureshes in Menachos Daf Samach Vav, the Gemara says that tamimois means that you start counting as early as possible. Malayla v'lo miyoim. You need whole days, an entire day. And at the beginning of Tov Peites, we learn in the Mishnah Berurah and the earlier Poskim that lechatchila is a mitzvah to start as early as possible. So I am makpid and shittas Rabbeinu Tam, as my great Rebbe was, as my father was. So I am makpid and shittas Rabbeinu Tam, not only by Shabbos, even by all the Taniyos and even by Tanas Yochid. Sefiras Haomer to me is an exception, and I count Sevira before Rabbeinu Tam. Based on the shit of many Rishonim, that it's a mitzvah to count as early as possible. And some Rishonim even go to the extreme that you could count lechatchila and bein hashmoshes, and that is the Psak Halacha and Siman Tov Peites in Shulchan Aruch and Ramah. Shulchan Aruch writes that a medaktikim are makbid to wait for Tzeis HaKechovim, but you could count lechatchila bein hashmoshes. So anyway, So Taisus maintains that Tamimois doesn't mean Tamimois of 49 days, but rather Tamimois of each and every day into itself. But anyway, that's the shit of the halachos gedolos. Because of the special and huge importance of the halachos gedolos, called Dvorav Divrei Kabbalah, the V'Yosef is choishesh l'shitosoi legabe brocha. So the V'Yosef doesn't say, he doesn't paskin in accordance to halachos gedolos. If you skip one day, you no longer have a mitzvah at all. The V'Yosef is shenoch paskin soifa beloi brocha. Of course, you need to go on counting, but you don't say a bracha, because legab a bracha we're machmi keshitas halachos gedolos. See the zayin. Shochach v'loy berech kol halaylo yispor biyom v'loy bracha. And why is that? Because that's another machloikes rishonim. Whether Sefiras Haomer is dafka b'laylo or it's also biyom, and therefore once again soifa v'loy bracha. Because maybe you're yoitza, maybe not. So how could you say a bracha? But the Mishnah Berurah brings on the spot that if he forgot balayla and he did count by day, the next night he could continue counting with a bracha. And why is that? If it's a suffix, how does he say a bracha? Mishnah Berurah writes, because it's a Sefiras Haomer. Even if I missed one day entirely, still is a machlokes halachos gedolos with other rishonim. And if I counted by day, it's a suffix whether I missed. So you can't say a bracha by day because that's one suffix, suffix bracha slakura, but the other night it's a Sefiras Haomer. Suffix b'chlal whether I missed a day. And even if I did miss a day, most of the rishonim don't agree with halachos gedolos, and one day is independent on the other. It's interesting why the Mishnah Berurah accepts the hezbollah, the interpretation of the Pri Chodesh. The source of this din is Tumas Hadeshen, quoted in the Darkei Moshe, and the Beis Yosef, and the Tumas Hadeshen explains differently. Tumas Hadeshen says, "Tamimois miohave kivin shelo dileg yormechod legamrei," not because it's a Sefiras Haomer, but it is Tamimois. He didn't skip an entire day. So let me give you my understanding, and I think it's a gewaltige pshat. So one machlokes halachos gedolos and other rishonim is whether one day is dependent on the other. According to halachos gedolos, you skip the day, then you lost the entire mitzvah. Taisus and most other rishonim disagree. The other machlokes is Sefiras Haomer kosher by day, or Lilo is ma'akev, is also a machlokes between halachos gedolos and Taisus. And in this machlokes, the halachos gedolos says Sfira b'Lilo is not ma'akev. And if you forgot by night, you could count by day with a bracha. And other rishonim disagree and they say no, must be by night, not by day. That's also machlokes halachos gedolos and other rishonim. That these two machlokes are two sides of the same coin, because Tamimois can't have two different interpretations. Tamimois either means entire days, or Tamimois means an entire sphere of 49 days. You can't have two different pshatim in the gather of Tamimois. It's either this or that. And that is why the halachos gedolos that argues Tamimois ties in every day with all the other days. L'shitosai, Tamimois cannot mean an entire day regarding each and every day. And therefore even miktzas hayoim kekuloi. As long as you count by day, before the day is over, you're yoitza. But Taisus maintains no. You must count by night because and if you count by day, you only have a half a day, and that's not Yomim Tamimois. That's not Tamimois. So these two machlokes ha b'ha'talya, and Taisus maintained Tamimois refers to each and every day into itself, and therefore, according to Taisus, Efshar. And that is why Tosfos is doicha the bahag without any argument. Efshar. Because Tmimois has a different pshat. And the halachos there is shitosoi. If he says that Tmimois means in a sphere of mentes yomim Tmimois, then Tmimois cannot mean you need an entire day yom v'laylo. And maybe that's the pashtus of the halacha. If I skipped by night, in the morning I cannot count with a brocha. Efshar halacha kedivra Tosfos. Sefiras Haomer is ma'akev b'laylo. But the next night, I could say a brocha. Because according to Tosfos, yes, I missed one day. But what does one day have to do with the other? According to the Bahag, I didn't miss a day. Because according to the Bahag, Svira Balaylo is not ma'akev. And that is why this halacha is so pashut. That if you forgot to count by night, you mash them in the morning without a brocha, but the next night with a brocha. Because Mimunafshach, Yoytzi Yedechai Vasai. Tmimois is either every day, or Tmimois is all the days together. So Halacha L'Maisa, Shulchan Aruch is Shulchan Aruch, and if you skip the day, then you lost that day. And you cannot be Mamshech the Svira with a brocha. If it's a suffix, I'm not sure whether I counted yesterday night, then you could continue with a brocha. Why? Even if you vadai skip the night, it's a machlokes balag with Tosfos. And if it's a suffix, whether you skipped or not, then it's a svek alachumra. Svek alachumra, we say a brocha. So generally speaking, I am makel in this halacha because I think most of the Rishonim are choylek on the bahag and the Shulchan Aruch is choyshesh lebahag. So any suffix which is mitzdaraf, I paskin the kola. For instance, many times I was asked, the person forgot to count by night, he forgot to count by day, and he remembered only when the day was almost over. Bein hashmoshos, he counted the sphere of yesterday, and I say the next night he could continue counting with and brach. So he spoke a bit about Sefiras Haomer. That Sefiras Haomer is an expression of our passion for Torah, our love of Torah, and that is why we count the days between Yetzias Mitzrayim and Mamad Har Sinai, as we did in real time after Yetzias Mitzrayim. Bnei Yisrael came to Moshe Rabbeinu each and every day and asked, when will we be Zoche to Kabbalas Torah? You promised us, B'tzeischem eMitzrayim tavden esu elakim ala har hazeh. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu said that they should count each and every year. So the Chinuch writes, Laharois benafshenu es hachefetz hagodol sheyesh lanu el hayom hazeh. So Baruch Hashem, it's a pleasure to teach Torah, it's a pleasure to learn Torah. My bracha to all of you. We should only know days of simcha and nachas. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should take away all this pain and all this suffering. And we should be zoche in these days of miracles and Chag HaMatzos and Chodesh Nisan. To Yeshua's Alomen, Misha Omer La'olam Dai, Yom Elotzolosenu Dai, we should be zoche to the Geula Shalema and Binyan Beis Hamikdash, B'mehero B'yomeinu Amen.